Hey, good Sunday evening, everybody. Welcome into the Rocky Top Rewind. A little bit different this Sunday, so we do appreciate you guys for bearing with us on the programming change. Going a couple of hours earlier due to basketball exhibition play against Duke coming up at 7 o'clock. Didn't want to be rushed. I wanted to be able we could watch all that. Originally, I was supposed to be on the road today, so a lot going on, obviously, this week and today, so we came up a little earlier here today. But here to talk about Tennessee, the 56-34 win over Kentucky at Kroger Field, right here on the Rocky Top Rewind. That's presented by our great friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That's T and Trial Lawyers. You can pick up the phone today and dial 423-245-4185 for a free consultation. Visit their website, SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. So we got football to talk about. We will talk about Tennessee baseball. It's been quite the week for what was Tony Vitello's program now is Josh Elander's program. We'll talk about that later on the show. We'll answer all your questions. We'll get to the Food City Center with Grant Ramey to kind of set the scene for exhibition play Tennessee and Duke. All that and more over the next hour right here on the Rocky Top Rewind. All right, Brent Hubbs, let's start. Tennessee. Whew, man, a lot of points. That was fun, but also a lot of points for Kentucky. It was a shootout. Tennessee, I felt like the game was never in jeopardy. The only time you kind of got a little uneasy feeling is when Kentucky brought it within from down 21-7 right before the half. But then Tennessee went right back, marched down the field, 10 plays, 75 yards, scored on an Ethan Davis touchdown to make it 2 touchdowns. And the game was never in jeopardy, but still defensively, but a lot to celebrate on the offensive end.
Yeah, we'll get to the defense in a minute. How about that? We'll start out on a positive note on the Rocky Top Rewind here. I thought Joey Aguilar was terrific, 20 of 26. 396 yards passing, in complete command. If I'm a Kentucky fan, I'm just sitting there, and I wrote this into 10 things. I'm just sitting there going, what in the world? What in the world are you doing playing man coverage against this team? Like why do you repeatedly do that? I mean, they've done it basically the entire time that Josh Heupel and Mark Stoops have gone against each other. I don't understand. I know maybe you don't like death by 1,000 paper cuts, but Eric, I'm just taking my chances on Tennessee having a holding penalty, having some kind of mistake, to end a 13-play drive and not allow a 13-play drive to become a touchdown. I mean, every touchdown drive Tennessee had last night was less than 2.5 minutes. Like, that's insanity. And listen, I know Kentucky's not very good defensively and Tennessee played well, but I just can't imagine spending the week going, hey, what have teams done to kind of hold Tennessee under 30 points? Wait a minute. What did they do? What did Alabama do? Oh, wait, they played some coverage and kept the ball in front of them and tried to make them drive the length of the field. No, we don't want to go that route. Let's see if we can go man coverage when we know we can't match up with them. Tennessee was just licking their chops. I have no idea what Kentucky's thought process was. But give Aguilar credit. He delivered the ball on a dime. I mean, he was 100% on balls beyond 20 yards in the air, which is a crazy stat. And then on top of that, finally the receivers didn't drop anything, Eric. I mean, they caught every ball that was thrown their way. There were no bobbles. There were no drops. I mean, they played well. I mean, both of them played particularly well. Both positions played really well, and Tennessee had a field day.
Yeah, Tennessee absolutely had a field day. And that stat that you brought up, and, I obviously covering the game last night, watching the game, I knew he was, 5 for 5 on, passes 35 or more down the field, whatever it was. But not until this morning did it really dawn on me. He was perfect in what is considered quote unquote long throws or stretching the field or whatever. I mean, he was absolutely perfect. Like, how hard is that to do, or how bad does your defense have to be in order for that to happen? And Tennessee was able to accomplish that against Kentucky. So, hats off to Joey Aguilar, a guy that didn't practice much last week. He's not 100%. Couldn't tell. That first touchdown to Chris Brazzell, stood in the pocket, took a lick, and delivered a beautiful ball. And I thought the throw to Mike Matthews, where in the world was the safety? The safety was nowhere to be found, so he throws it, inside towards the middle of the field. And Mike Matthews makes a great adjustment to get over there and get it. And I thought that was good. But What Joey Aguilar did down the field passing was very impressive, and the explosives were back for the Tennessee offense. And all those explosives, too, kind of, if they didn't score, they set up a score. Like Braylon Staley before the half set up Ethan Davis. Chris Brazel in the third quarter set up Peyton Lewis. I mean, it's kind of like complimentary football. So that was great to see. And for the first time since 2019, Missouri, Tennessee had 3 wide receivers that went over the century mark. I wrote about it today. I don't know if you read it, but can you name those 3 receivers that went over 100 yards, Missouri 2019?
Callaway.
Yep.
Palmer.
Yep.
Oh, the third one's going to get me because that's the one that's out there.
It shouldn't be.
Wait a minute. Is that a Juwan Jennings game?
Yes, there you go.
Okay.
That's the one you should have led with first. I
had to think. You know what I thought back to is I thought back of that video of Juwan Jennings rolling a football because they were going bowling or whatever. I don't know if that was the same year or not, but I remember that video. So that's where that came from.
So yeah, first time Tennessee did that since 2019. So obviously a great night, and but really it was kind of a quarterback duel, right? And this high-powered, fast-starting Kentucky offense. I'm saying all that sarcastically because Kentucky's offense is not good. Boley had completed 3 passes of 20 yards or more down the field. He completed 3 or 4 in this football game. But Boley had a day. Joey Aguilar had a day. Tennessee's defense was opportunistic in the first half, creating 2 touchdowns, but again, just gave up way too much.
Yeah, they did not have a day, not a day that you want to remember. And, you highlight the good stuff at the start, but then you dive into what everybody's talking about, and rightfully so. It's where is this defense from a confidence standpoint? Where is this defense from an adjustment standpoint? Where is this defense from a fix it and improve it standpoint? Because here's the thing. They're not going to get man coverage against everybody. They're not going to they're not going to play against a bad secondary offensively where they can score 40, 50 points a game. I mean, defense is going to have to be better than what they were Saturday night. And everybody's going to throw to the tight ends. Everybody's going to throw the underneath stuff, get it out of their hands quickly to try to negate some of the pass rush stuff. And I mean, it's not about rallying to the ball. It's about tackling the right way with some fundamentals. It's about not busting coverages. It's just, I mean, they look, I don't want to say confused. They just look lost back. I mean, there's no cohesiveness. Nothing feels like it's tied together in the passing game when you talk about linebacker coverage, nickel coverage, safety coverage, corners coverage. It feels like all of those are separate things, and they're not tied together. And as a result of that, you're getting guys to have, a lot of success. And listen, I think the Boley kid's got a chance to be a nice player. They've made some tweaks to their offense. If they'd have run this offense earlier in the year, could that have, if they'd have had 2 more weeks of prep, would that have helped them against Texas? Maybe. They obviously felt like they found something against Texas, and they installed some of that and continued to run it against Tennessee. But I mean, holy smokes, this is just not good defense right now. I don't have an answer. I don't know what the answer is in terms of, I mean, you're heading into November, and this is where you are. That you have not grown on the defensive side of the ball. So the question becomes, how do you fix it? And I wrote this in 10 things as well. I mean, I felt like Tennessee was grasping for straws on defense with the amount of personnel they played. You look up, they were bringing 5 new guys in, taking 5 guys off. They were in 3 linebacker sets. They were in nickel sets. They were dropping Leos into coverage. They were blitzing linebackers. They were trying a variety of different things and just felt like they were just trying to grab at something, and they never could get anything executed well enough for it to work, or at least that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, you wrote about it, and I was about to bring it up. I mean, Sidney Walton played 16 snaps. Caleb Beasley, after not playing in 2 or 3 weeks, played 35 snaps. What was really shocking to me, if those 2 guys are playing that many snaps, that means, Andre Turrentine not playing as much. He played half the amount of snaps he usually plays. He only played 46 snaps. And for him to play that few snaps in a football game, it's like, man, you really are just trying to grasp and try anything, because, again, he plays almost every snap of the football game. That's just kind of how they've treated him at the safety position. William Wright played a lot, and I know a lot of that had to do with Colton Hood being, a bit banged up, especially in the second half. But played a ton of linebackers. They were matching a 12 personnel with a 4-3 base, essentially. And Tennessee's done that in years past, specifically against teams like Kentucky, teams like Florida. But we don't see it a lot. But Tennessee kind of started in that because Kentucky started in 12 personnel, just trying a bunch of different stuff. And I just think, again, we said it the last couple of weeks, like, you are who you are. And I think it's everything. I think sometimes they're in position to make plays and they're missing tackles. Sometimes I think they're bailing on 3rd and 2, and it's like, what are you doing? They're just not very good in the secondary. And what you do well, pressuring the quarterback and getting home, you've not been well at it the last 2.5, 3 games. Had forced 2 takeaways that result in points. That was good. But by getting home and getting those sacks, you're not doing that at an elite level anymore. So I think at this point, man, it's like, sure, you can always improve, but you're not going to see just a completely different Tennessee defense. I mean, with all due respect, and I agree, I think they made some tweaks and they can be a little bit better. But if you can do that against a Kentucky offense, I don't know if you're going to do that this year. So be who you are. You're a team that's going to give up a lot of points, going to force takeaways, try to capitalize off those takeaways. And at the core, you are a team that rushes the quarterback well. You got to get back to that and then, turn the football back over to the offense and watch them go score a lot of points.
Yeah, you got to try to – you feel like you got to outscore people, try to get a handful of stops. What's crazy is there are times where you go, man, they're they could be pretty good, right? They make a wow play, and then there are other times where you look at them and go, man, do they understand down and distance? Are they that? It seems like they're looking to the sideline for plays. Like, I don't know if they're getting the call in late, but it seems like it feels helter skelter as teams are lining up, and there's a lot of trying to communicate with each other as motions and shifts and adjustments can't come into play. And I don't know. It just doesn't. Like I said, it doesn't feel very cohesive and very connected right now. For them defensively. And listen, the best thing, you said it best, the best thing they do is they rush the quarterback. They got to figure out how to get back to affect the quarterback so you can affect him enough to get off the field and force enough punts.
It feels like they have. I know they've given up big plays and they haven't defended the run. It's a laundry list of things they haven't done well enough this year. But it feels like at least once a game, pick your poison. Alabama specifically, I remember that one because it was just last week where they go 99 yards. Feels like they give up one long, lengthy drive where they just can't get off the field. This week, right before the half, too, if your offense didn't answer with a great 2-minute offense, and that's something that we haven't seen from Tennessee this year, so give them props there. And I know you wrote about that in your 10 things. If not for that response, how deflating is this going into the halftime break, erasing a 21-point lead? Kentucky gets it down to 7. 16 plays, 96 yards, 8:35 off the clock, draining it all the way down to below 2 minutes. They convert 3 of 4 third downs. They convert a 4th down. You just could not get off the field. And it feels like we see one of those drives like every week. And again, give Tennessee's offense credit. They came back and scored, punched it in before the half, and Tennessee's defense came out and forced them to punt there to begin the second half, so they won the middle 8. But it's also just so frustrating because you get a drive like that where the Georgia game, you had 6 different chances to win that football game and you didn't. You had 4 different chances to get off the football field on that drive and you didn't. And we've seen that so many times this year.
Yeah, you go back to a week ago to Alabama. They got them backed up. It's 3rd and 10, and they give up 3rd and 10. This week it was 3rd and 5 or 6, and they gave up a scramble to the quarterback. Again, we can talk about them for an hour here, and the answer is going to be really similar. They're not playing very well, and they've got problems that they've been dealing with all season long that they haven't figured out answers to and haven't found answers to for whatever reason.
Jeff says, I know it's almost taboo to talk about at this point, but any rumors of Jamal McCoy return before the season ends?
Jeff, I don't have a date. I do think, and I will continue to say this, even if he doesn't play, I do think he is trying everything he can to get back on the field. I think that it's about how the knee responds, how it feels. I think he's tried to do a little bit more the last couple of weeks. Has he done it consistently enough? No. Do I expect him to play this week? I would be really surprised. Could you see him the last 3 games? Maybe, because I do think he wants to play. I don't think he's got a date in mind that says if I'm not ready at this point, I'm going to shut it down. Now, I don't think that means necessarily he's only going to play one game if you get to that point in the season, but I don't think he's thinking that way right now. I think he is thinking get on the field and get on the field as fast as I can. So we'll see. We'll see where he's at. We'll see where the trainers are at with it. We'll see where the doctors are with it. But I do think he's continuing to do everything he can to try to get on the field. I just, at this point, if you're Tim Banks and you're Willie Martinez and you're Josh Heupel, you're not sitting around waiting for that to happen. You got to go on like it's not going to happen. And here's the thing too, Eric. I mean, he would be a welcome sight back. I don't think he's the cure-all.
No.
I don't think he's the savior to it. I mean, would that be a much better group of would that be a better group of corners with Colton Hood and Jamad McCoy on the field at the same time? Yeah, I do think that, but I don't know that fixes some of the other issues that they're dealing with right now. They've just got to clean up. Again, I mean, somebody's putting it out, I don't know where I read it today. It may have been on here. It's like, it's 3rd and 4 and the linebackers dropped 12 yards. Like, where are you going? Yeah. Right? They totally misplayed leverage on the long touchdown pass on the 71-yarder to the kid. I mean, it just, played it completely wrong. Both of them got trapped inside. I mean, you got the sideline as your friend there. Just get him out of bounds. Maybe it's an 8-yard gain, but you can't let that go for 70 yards and a touchdown. They get lost a couple times. I mean, they give up the deep ball because they play bad technique in man coverage. It just wasn't pretty. It just was not pretty in any way, shape, or form.
Hubs, you look at Joey Aguilar, and through whatever the record is now, 7 games, I guess. Yeah, through 8 games. Joey Aguilar leads the conference in passing yards at 2,344 yards. He ranks second with 18 touchdowns and a 162.8 quarterback rating. That's in the conference. In conference games alone, Aguilar leads the league in passing yards per game at 318.2 yards per game, passing rating, yards per play at 8.23, passes of 20-plus yards, which he has 22 of those, 30-plus yards, he has 13 of those, and 40-plus yards, he has 7. He is second with 10 passing touchdowns in SEC games alone. Sometimes, just like Hendon Hooker, it's the perfect fit, perfect marriage and all that. Aguilar always, threw the football a lot, racked up the yards and the touchdowns, but in this era that we're in the college football playoff era, the transfer portal era, NIL era, how did Joey Aguilar stay in the Sun Belt Conference for as long as he did? Because, he's thriving here. It's kind of hard to believe that he's got 4 more games left in the regular season. He's got 4 more games left, and then that's it. Like, he could have been playing at this level, it feels like, for quite some time.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and unfortunately, because Tennessee, didn't get it done against Georgia, I guess, and they obviously didn't play well enough against Alabama, and part of that's the interception he threw. I don't think his story's gotten enough national attention, to be honest.
I agree.
And I'm not saying Heisman Trophy. I'm not saying any of that. But when everybody talks about the portal, there's talk about, Carson Beck going from one power forward to another power forward. But, this is a guy who is just making the most of his opportunity. I think you got to give Joey Halzle credit for getting him ready over the summer. I know Josh Heupel was involved in that, but Joey Halzle spent a ton of time with him. I think you got to give Joey Aguilar an immense amount of credit for all the work that he put in. I interviewed him last night in the post game for the Vol Network, and we were sitting there just talking. I was asking about how big your eyes light up to see man coverage and some of those things, and he was just obviously he's having the time of his life. But then he looks at me and he goes, "Man, I can play so much better in this offense. Like I missed some reads. I was greedy because we punted twice because of me." Because if I just make the simple play instead of trying to make a bigger play and just play smart enough and hit the check down or hit the easy route, the easy play for a first down and read it the right way. He said, "I'm not sure we punt tonight." He said, "I'm the reason we punted. It's not anybody else. Nobody else is why we're punting. I'm why we're punting." He's just so mature at 24. He's in such a place. He's having the time of his life right now. But man, he's committed. He's committed to being to being good in this offense. I mean, the work he put in this week without practicing to get himself ready to play. You watch him play last night. You would not. No one would believe you that he basically worked about a half a practice this week because of how sore he was and the pain he was dealing with coming out of the Alabama game. Certainly didn't look like a guy who had not thrown a bunch of footballs all week long. But man, he was terrific, and he's a great story. I mean, how did this happen? To answer your question, Eric, I don't know. I don't know how people in this day and age, when you got guys making 7 figures to be GMs and they got 7 people working underneath them, looking for tape and everything else. I don't know how people don't find a guy like that.
Makes no sense. Again, like nobody was probably, super aggressive in trying to get Hendon Hooker before he got to Tennessee either. So I understand like sometimes it's the perfect fit, the perfect match. But I mean, I was talking to a buddy last night during the game. I'm like, it's hard to believe that to my understanding, right? I mean, who knows what where college football is? To my understanding, like this is it. Like it's kind of sad and shocking because he's a really, really good football player.
Well, but you look at a guy like Chaz Lanier. How does Chaz Lanier end up at North Florida?
Yeah.
Why was he under recruited? Why was Deshaun Bishop a walk-on? I mean, it happens. Mm-hmm. It's just this one's different because here's a guy who was having success at a lower level, and you think in the world where everybody needs a quarterback, there's a search for that in January, not in the springtime, but in January. Obviously, he went to UCLA, but I don't know. It's amazing that he didn't have a bunch more opportunities. I mean, do you think Auburn like to have him right now?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of schools that around the country that would like to have him playing the way he's playing. And he's not just putting up numbers because of the system at Tennessee. He's putting up numbers because he's throwing the ball extremely well.
Yeah. Sam Smith chimes in. Watching Hubs get stopped by the UK security last night was fantastic. At least someone in Lexington played defense. I got to hear this story.
Sam, I was hoping nobody saw that last night. So Kentucky has a unique policy, apparently, that they didn't tell anybody. You're not allowed to stand behind the bench area. You have to be in the photo box on either side, left or right of the bench area. You can't stand behind it. Well, I don't stand behind there the whole game, but when somebody goes into the injury tent, I go over and watch what's in the injury tent. I'm walking there and looking to see what kind of adjustments are being made, what they're looking at, what they're working on after a particular series, and just trying to pick up little nuggets in here and there. And one guy came up to me and said, "Hey, you can't stand here." And I'm like, "Well, I'm with the radio network for the university and blah, 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 blah. And you can't stand there." Well, Bill Martin, Tennessee Sports Information Director, comes up to the guy and goes, "Hey, man, he's good. He's good." And the guy's like, "Oh, okay, but you're not supposed to be here." And the guy leaves. So I think I'm good. About 10 minutes later, dude comes back, "Man, you can't be here." I'm like, "We just had the conversation." He goes, "Wasn't me. I didn't have a conversation with anybody. You can't be here." I mean, if their event management people wanted Tennessee to take the injury tent down and then fold it back up because it was blocking the view of the people, which it wasn't. Wasn't any higher than the little air-conditioned heater roof things that they put on, on top of the benches. But yeah, they wanted them to drop their injury tent because it was blocking the line of sight for fans. I'm like, I don't think so.
So did you have to stay in the photo box?
I did, but I slowly sauntered. I look like Elijah Simmons trying to get off the field at Georgia when they were making a late substitution as I made my way from one end of the bench to the other. It was a slow walk. There might have been some times that I went one direction thinking, "Oh, I need to go down here." And then I turn around and walk back. "Oh, I've made a mistake. I've got to go back the other direction," because to give me extra time to kind of look and see what I could find as I walk by.
It's kind of
never had that happen anywhere.
It's kind of like me on Tuesday whenever, everybody flocked to the porches there for Tony Vitello watch, and what was his last practice. And, when they're done, the security comes out and says, "All right, guys, you got to leave. You got to vacate, da-da-da." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I walk on the field, and then they leave, and I turn back around. I walk back to the porches, and I sit there trying to wait for Tony Vitello. Of course, I didn't wait long enough. Just kind of moseying around there. We will talk baseball here in just a moment. We'll continue to talk a little bit of football. There's some questions.
Sure, let's run through. Let's fast, rapid fire them here.
Trey wants to know third down issues. Do you think it's scheme or depth availability?
I think it's probably a little bit of talent, and I think it's some lack of execution of the scheme. I mean, I don't think the scheme's bad when you look at their third down numbers last year, right? I mean, they were really good third down numbers last year. So I think it's some of the execute. I think it's a lot of execution of the scheme, and I think it's a little bit of kind of where you are right now in the secondary with some of the talent you're playing with. I mean, I think Ty Redmond's going to be a really good player. I think he's struggling as a freshman right now in a big time way, and I don't think the safety play has been very good all year long.
I think he's struggling with confidence more than anything right now.
Yep.
And you're 18 years old. I get that. Jeff, again, any idea of Mateer's health going into Saturday? I mean, he's played the last, 2-3 weeks, and we were talking about it on the post-game mini-pod last night, and I'm just like, he looks a shell of himself. He does not look the same. And Austin said, well, he's going to be full go, ready to roll back to a Heisman quarterback next week. And I'm like, well, you're probably right. But against the normal team with the normal defense, he does not look the same. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the country prior to injury. But he's going to run it a lot, Brent, and that's going to be yet another challenge, just like Taylor Green was for the Tennessee defense.
Yeah, I mean, you look last night. I mean, Boley ran it enough. He picked some spots, a couple early scrambles. Then they had a couple of design runs for him. But yeah, I mean, he'll be a handful with his legs. Tennessee's going to have to defend the quarterback run better. Obviously, much better than they defended it against Green, but certainly better than they even defended it last night.
Can we get into the playoffs? Even if A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Alabama get in, that would be 5 in the playoffs. I would probably say no at this point in time because I think there's questions about its 10-2. It got Tennessee in last year. The league's different this year. What's that kind of look like down? And it's also impossible to know right now. We're not even into the month of November yet. But I would probably say no in that situation. That's given if Tennessee wins out and finishes 10-2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Big Ten's going to get 4 based on where they're at right now. I think for the SEC to have a chance to get 5 in the playoff, Notre Dame's got to drop something somewhere unexpected with where they're at because at 10-2, I think the Irish are going to get in. And I think it's going to be hard. I think at that point it's going to be hard to get 5 if Notre Dame is in.
Jeffrey says if we win and go 10-2, we should get in over the playoffs over Oklahoma and Vandy if they are also 10-2 just because of beating them, correct? Well, if Tennessee goes 10-2, Oklahoma can't go 10-2. They've already got 2 losses. That would be 3 losses for Oklahoma. Now, Vanderbilt on the other end, say Vanderbilt wins all the way to the end of the regular season, lose to Tennessee, they're both 10-2. Yeah, I would assume, head-to-head, it's got to matter, right? I mean, there will be some metric person at ESPN or somebody on that committee or a talking point that will try to say no, but again, head-to-head's got to matter, or at least it does 1 week out of the month-long television production on Tuesday nights. Well, I would assume head-to-head matters.
Two things: head-to-head matters, and losing late matters. Both of those would be working against Vanderbilt there.
Yeah, no doubt. You can speak on this better than I am. It was loud where I was last night, but it felt like it was pumped in noise. Even after the half when Kentucky scored, it was loud, but there was something. What was the loud? What was the noise level last night?
They played a lot of stuff. They play a lot of stuff on their video boards. They have some kind of element going on their video board seemingly all the time, or it feels like a lot of canned music that they're doing. I don't know that they pumped in crowd noise necessarily. Maybe they did. I mean, I walked by the speakers a time or two, and you could hear some crowd noise kind of through there, but I don't think it was like this great conspiracy that they pumped it in. I just thought that they played a lot of elements on their video board anytime. They clearly did not want, somebody else posted this in the deal, they clearly did not want to hear Rocky Top take over that stadium. And so anytime the band started playing, it was really quick to they were really quick to fire up something on the video board for sure.
Yeah. A couple more here, then we're going to talk about baseball because there's a lot to talk about right here. Matt says Xavier Robinson looks like he could have a big day against us too. Oklahoma looks like they might have found a guy that they can lean on a little bit. I think, and I'll learn so much more about Oklahoma tonight after I dive into the stats because I haven't watched every single one of their games. The fact that Oklahoma has not had a traditional run game this year is the most mind-boggling thing there is. They had Jade Knott from the transfer portal. 2023, I know is a long time ago. Fantastic player, was hurt last year. You have the Barnes guy that you had last year that I thought was pretty good. But this Robinson cat, he had 109 yards yesterday on two touchdowns on 9 carries. That was his first 100-yard game of the year. So maybe, I'm not going to say that like there's been anything consistent about his game this year, but he did go off yesterday.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma's looking at Tennessee's defensive tape, saying we got a chance to run the football. We think we can get wide on them some. Tennessee seems to get out of their gaps there. And then obviously we could do some stuff out of the backfield with backs and tight ends, try to get a quarterback into a better rhythm. It doesn't have to be vertical down the field all the time. So, I think they probably feel like they can get well against Tennessee's defense.
Arion Carter update. He was dressed there for emergency situations, did not play. Do you think he can be back on the field to play next week?
We'll see. I mean, he's dealing with a tough injury right now. The open date would be very kind to him. Can he play a few snaps this week and then go to the open date? We'll have to see. I don't think there was ever any intention of him playing. In fact, I was a little surprised they went in the second half and he was not coming out of the locker room in street clothes or not in at least some tennis shoes on the sideline instead of standing in cleats the whole time. But he was taped up, ready to go. We'll see if he can go for a few snaps. I don't think he's going to play a bunch of snaps this week. He just can't move very well. He can't push off the way he needs to.
Last question before we shift gears here to baseball, at least for a couple of minutes on the show, unless you guys just want to keep talking football. Back to Jeff. Hard to tell with the TV copy. Was the offensive line rotating as heavy as the Alabama game? Rotation some, not as heavy.
Yeah, not as heavy. They didn't rotate every series. They played much more of Sanders at right tackle, Perry at right guard. They did get Sham some work in there, but Sanders got the most work he's got. That will be a great learning tape and a great study tape for David Sanders. He was not awful. He was not terrible. I don't want anybody to suggest that, but there's going to be lots of lessons for him to take away from that. At times he played too high, Eric, with some run stuff. He got beat on a couple pass rush things. You're reminded that he was a freshman. And at times he got pushed a little bit because he's still dealing with growing and getting, stronger in general, not the stinger injury, but just getting stronger in general. That there'll be a lot of great learning, teaching moments for him off of that tape for Tennessee. And I think as he plays more and more, he'll continue to make strides. I would imagine he'll be better next week against Oklahoma than he was this week against Kentucky. He wasn't terrible, but there's clearly some growth that needs to take place there, as you would expect.
Yep. Every time a guy of his caliber, but as young as he is, gets out there on the field, he's only going to get better and better. Check in with Grant Ramey here in a little bit from the Food City Center as Tennessee's getting ready to host Duke in exhibition play later tonight at 7 o'clock, ESPN2. And, of course, we'll talk a little Tennessee baseball. Josh Elander named the replacement for Tony Vitello. That became official Saturday morning. But first, let's get a word from our presenting sponsors. That is Spivey King and Spivey LLP. Quick word. Want to give a quick shout out to our proud presenting sponsor of the Rocky Top Rewind. That is Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you've got a problem, let them find a solution for you. T and Trial Lawyers, great guys. They got a great team over there. Tennessee fans like you and I. Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, Richard A. Spivey. They specialize in criminal defense, family law, and personal injuries. Examples of which could be DUI, assault, custody, divorce, alimony, parental rights, personal injuries such as car wrecks, stuff like that. Over 80 years of combined experience, Spivey King and Spivey LLP has representation throughout state and federal courts of Northeast Tennessee. The firm has got a vast amount of trial experience with real Mid-South experience. They've got attorneys who have won awards. They've done a little bit of everything, practicing primarily in Northeast Tennessee, the Sullivan counties of Hawkins County and Washington County, and surrounding counties as well. They can help you if you have a need. Plus, you can find them online as well at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. You can pick up the phone today for a free consultation. Dial the number 423-245-4185. That is 423-245-4185. Or check them out online, or check them out in person, rather, at 142 Cherokee Street, Kingsport, Tennessee. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or you've been accused of a crime, Spivey King and Spivey LLP, they can help you. Again, if you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. Also want to give a big thank you to Game Time for being a part of the show. Game Time, it's an app that gives the advantage back to the fans because, man, sometimes you're trying to watch college football, trying to go and watch college football in person, and you're trying to get tickets. Sitting in endless queues and extra fees at checkout. Maybe it's not a college football game. Maybe it's a concert. I mean, it's so much work just to get tickets. Well, it's not like that on the Game Time app. Again, it's a hack for unlocking amazing tickets, experience in just a few taps. It gives the advantage back to the consumer, back to the fans. Incredibly easy to use. The Game Time guarantee, listen to this, means that you're going to get 100% authentic tickets on time at the best prices, plus fees. They're always included, so nothing is surprising at checkout. What you see is what you're going to get. Plus, you can see the views from your seats as well. Not everybody offers that, so you know exactly what you're paying for. We went to a Smokies game there towards the end of baseball season, once football season got going, me and the wife, and man, I loved the experience. I had a blast on the Game Time app because it was so easy, and the new Covenant Hill Ballpark downtown was so much fun, and the process of getting tickets, finding parking, and all that was a breeze on the Game Time app. I've used it, I can vouch for it, and I encourage you to as well. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create that account, redeem code ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Back on the Rocky Top Rewind, glad to have you along with us. Appreciate you being a part of the program. Tennessee has a new baseball coach, and it's a familiar name, Josh Elander, and maybe the quickest coaching search, Eric Kane, in the history of coaching searches. Danny White making a surprise move with the hire of Josh Elander on a game day Saturday. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card, but clearly they want to keep the continuity and the culture and everything growing there. Tell everybody who Josh Elander is, because I think most fans know him as a part of Tony Vitello's staff. They don't know who Josh Elander is. Give a little background on who Josh is.
Josh Elander was Tony Vitello's top assistant coach for his entire 8-year, working on his 9th year, here in fall run at Tennessee. He was his top assistant. He was the recruiting coordinator. He's been the associate head coach since following the 2021 season. He is over the offense. He runs the offense for Tennessee baseball, and Tennessee baseball's got a fun brand of baseball. A lot of power, a lot of home runs, a very aggressive style, and Josh Elander runs that. He also works with the catchers. He was a former catcher himself at TCU, was drafted in the Atlanta Braves organization, played a couple seasons of minor league baseball. So he's worked with the catchers, and while working with the catchers, obviously has a hand in the pitching as well. So works, hand in hand with Frank Anderson. Pretty much every part of this baseball program, Josh Elander has touched over the last 8 years. And so he's also been the one that stepped up when Tony Vitello was suspended or Tony Vitello was kicked out of a ball game. Josh Elander assumed the head coaching responsibilities. So he's been groomed for this. Don't get me wrong, but I don't like saying that because it's almost like you were expecting Tony Vitello to leave. I mean, not really. Nobody was expecting Tony Vitello to go, to LSU or anywhere else. Certainly not the Giants, but it was kind of like he's been groomed to be a head coach, and it's like, how long can you hold on to him? He's had offers to go elsewhere. There's been a lot of people that have come over the last couple of years trying to get Josh Elander, but we talk about this with assistant coaches in Tennessee football. He's been in a great spot, a place where he's compensated well. They win a lot of baseball games, and he didn't have to, just jump at something. And ultimately, his patience has paid off because now he is the head coach of Tennessee baseball.
How is he different than Tony Vitello? Because, I think a lot of people are going to say, oh, it just rolls right along and nothing changes. He's got to put his own stamp and his own brand within the culture and the framework that's there. How do you think he's different? Will there be things they see differently in this program led by Josh Elander versus being led by Tony Vitello? And I don't mean bad. I just mean different.
Yeah, I don't know if just showing up to the park on game day, I don't know if you're going to see anything different. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Maybe over the course of a season, we'll see some differences. I don't anticipate the play looking any different because I anticipate Frank Anderson being his pitching coach for at least this year. I anticipate, Ross Kivett being on staff. And of course, Josh Elander's been running that offense already. So I think the brand of baseball is going to be very similar. I think Garrett Crochet summed it up best when he told Volquest, over the weekend, they're two sides of the same coin, which means essentially like they have the same goals. They have the same mindset. They want to get to the same end goal. Like the way they go about the foundation of this program is the same. Where they're different is Tony Vitello, both great with relationships, but Tony Vitello is energetic. He's outgoing. He's rah-rah. He's not afraid to get in somebody's face, not afraid to, get out there with an umpire and do all that. And not that Elander can't do that. Elander is, I don't want to say he's laid back because I think that's poor wording. He's just more, business minded. And not to say Tony's not, but it's just kind of difference in their personalities. Josh Elander is not Tony Vitello. That is just not who he is. But again, the way they go about building this program from the foundation up, one couldn't have done it without the other. So different guys, but I don't think that you're going to see these vast changes. Maybe some tweaks here and there, and we'll see what this coaching staff could look like in 4 or 5 years. But I do think that the phrase that Crochet told Volquest was perfect. Two sides of the same coin. They're different, but they're of the same breed in terms of winning and going and how to go about it.
You mentioned that he had been groomed for a job, right? Like he was ready at other opportunities. How much of a benefit is the fact that Tony Vitello let his staff coach? Because it was very clear that they all had their roles. They all touched it in a variety of different ways. They all had things that they were responsible for. How much will that help Josh Elander's transition into the big chair, if you will? The fact that Tony Vitello's belief with his staff was to sort of get out of the way at times and let his guys coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was awesome. Now, like the getting out of the way of Frank Anderson makes all the sense in the world. Going into the 2018 season, you had this hotshot recruiter that's never been a head coach before coming over from Arkansas. He's never done it before, and I think part of the reason, and you could speak on this more than I could, I think part of the reason he got this job is because he sold John Curry on, hey, I'm going to surround myself with smart people, smarter people than me. I'm going to go get Frank Anderson, who's been a head coach at the power level for 8 years. He's been doing this for decades. He's going to be my pitching coach. He's going to do all that. I'm not going to do any of it. That's going to be his show. And up until last year when he says, crazy ass Frank does his own thing. Like he let Frank Anderson do his own thing and he ran the pitching staff and did all that. And not to say Tony couldn't. He was a pitching coach for 1 year. I think it was at Missouri maybe. I don't think it was at Arkansas. But he's got pitching coach experience. And, of course, he had inputs and all that. And he had a game plan. But, Frank Anderson did that side of it. Josh Elander ran the offense side of it. I mean, Tony Vitello, he would make a lineup card and he would, make sure everybody's on the same page. And he would motivate these guys. And he would scout and he would recruit. And he did a lot as well. But I think it's pretty cool how he just lets these guys go. And they all have different strengths. So, allowing Elander to grow and evolve and do more over the last 8 years, I think it's a benefit to him, and I think it's only going to help him in this head coaching role. And again, it's kind of funny, but again, like over the years, the games kind of add up where Tony Vitello was suspended or ejected or whatever. Like Elander's gotten a little bit of role in that head coaching chair before. And so even that, it's not like this will be the first time he's ever done it. So I think it's only a benefit to him.
All right, but before we get Grant in here, because he's going to come in just a minute to talk about Tennessee and Duke and exhibition basketball and get you ready for that. This was interesting to me, and I don't think I've ever seen a uniform response from media, national people, from former players, the way that we did about Josh Elander. And I think it's important to note that was not orchestrated in any way, shape, or form. Josh Elander had nothing to do with that. Everybody, if you've seen the video on YouTube that UT Athletics put out, and tip of the cap to the crew at Tennessee for allowing that moment to be seen for the fans. I think it's important to show that energy to kind of keep the momentum in your program going. Why is Josh Elander so uniformly popular and respected for a guy who is a lifelong assistant, and really his first opportunity as a Power 4 assistant was at Tennessee?
Well, I think a lot of the things that we've been getting consistently back from former players, or what you're seeing on social media from sometimes current players, is his work ethic. And I know that's such an easy thing to draw back on. Well, this guy works hard. He's a good guy. But, the sacrifices made away from his family. He's got 3 young girls at the house, and he'll go and he'll coach on a Tuesday night, then he'll hop in the car and he'll be gone Tuesday and Wednesday. Or Wednesday and Thursday, then he'll be back and they'll hit the road to go to Alabama for a series, and he might be away from his girls for quite some time. That type of stuff. Going to the Cape in the summer, and the amount of investment that he's poured into this program at some personal sacrifice. And I know a lot of coaches have that sacrifice, but I think that was evident what we've heard the last couple of days. And again, just a guy that they can relate to, a guy that is business minded. On the hunt, you've seen that a lot. Like Tennessee has these shirts, and it's deer antlers, and it says on the hunt. And guys who ball out in fall ball get those shirts, and it's kind of like a competition and everything. And Elander runs that, every single year. And so that's kind of been his thing. And it's kind of a way for the team to bond with him. And that's just kind of another example. So I don't know. It's just been wild. Everybody wants the promotion to be their guy. That's normal. You hear that all the time. Texas A&M was the same way whenever Schloss left. They wanted their guy to get it. Danny White had a responsibility to block out that noise and go and find the best guy that could possibly lead this program. It's weird timing. Danny White certainly did that. I think it was quicker than what you and I thought. I mean, we reported that there was interest in a potential candidate on Friday, and they went down that road a little bit. But I think in the end, it was Josh Elander when they met with him. They just said, "Hey, this is clearly the best guy for the job. He gets it. He's got the support of the former players, the current players, pretty much everybody involved, and
future players."
Yeah, the future players, the committed class, and all that. So I think all that kind of played its hand into it. So it was pretty cool to watch. Josh Elander absolutely earned this, and that's what Danny White told you on the Ball Network pregame show last night. And so I'm intrigued to see how it all goes his first year, and of course he'll be introduced tomorrow officially with an 11:30 a.m. press conference.
Herb has a question here, and I don't think we know the answer to it, but his question is about Q, the strength coach, whether or not he is staying. Do you feel like that most everybody who's in this program right now is going to stay a part of this program? Obviously, there's an open spot with Josh moving up a chair, but do you feel like the core of this thing is going to stay together? I know this time of year there's not a lot of movement with assistant coaches around. There's not a lot of openings and opportunities. You feel like come the spring, this is going to be one new person, and then everybody else, we're all going to know who they are?
I think for the most part, and you're right. I mean, this is not the coaching carousel time, right? So,
Right.
it'd be less ideal in that regard, but it just makes sense. I mean, you're trying to continue what Tony and these guys built together. Keep these guys here as long as they want to be here. I don't know how much longer Frank Anderson wants to coach. I have no clue, but we'll ask Josh Elander tomorrow about his staff, and I fully expect the majority of the staff, Ross Kivett, Frank Anderson. I do expect Quentin Everhart to remain as the strength coach, but we'll make sure, when we ask him tomorrow. And then, where's he going to go for that other assistant? Could he promote a support staffer that's already here? Could he go get Luke Bonfield back from Pittsburgh, who left to go be the recruiting coordinator? Could he ask somebody else? I don't know. We'll ask him tomorrow, but I do expect the majority of this group to stay here and just kind of keep this thing rolling. And again, this is not May 20th. This is October 26th. I think that also has something to do with it.
Yeah, I think the recruiting coordinator is an interesting role because that's been Elander's thing. He's just owned that now for a while. As a head coach, you can't be your recruiting coordinator. Somebody's got to fill that role. I'm not sure exactly who that is. Speak of the devil, he can fill any role. Grant Ramey joins us here. Plenty of baseball coverage. We'll have everything coming up from the press conference tomorrow. If you've not been on the site this weekend or you've only been glued into football, you've missed out. Just a ton of coverage regarding Tennessee baseball. So get caught up on that before tip-off comes up here in just a little bit and before the press conference tomorrow. From some room unknown in the Food City Center, Grant Ramey joins us. Grant, did they take all the media seats and give them to the NBA scouts and general managers that are going to be there tonight for the exhibition game? That's my first question.
They should have. I hope y'all can hear me. It's loud in here. I'm jammed between a wall and the Riverside Club, which is, I don't know. It's very confusing. Everything's new in here this year. But, yeah, I think there's 39 NBA personnel from 22 different teams, including a bunch of general managers and a bunch of presidents of basketball operations, not to mention just the scouts. I mean, when you have Cameron Boozer, the number 3 overall player in the 2025 class, and Nate Ament, the number 4 overall player, on the same court in October, pretty good chance to go look at him.
So, I mean, every Tennessee fan is looking for Nate Ament tonight. They're going to have ridiculously high expectations. It was 2 years ago that Dalton Connect pronounced himself on the scene in East Lansing against Michigan State. What are the realistic expectations that you have for Nate tonight? And talking to the Tennessee staff, seeing him practice, what are your realistic expectations?
I mean, I've seen him score in a bunch of different ways. I don't know how well he's going to shoot it because we just haven't seen him shoot it that well yet. I'm sure he's going to be fine throughout the season. You can kind of go two ways about this. You can be Dalton Connect at Michigan State, and you can be a star from the moment the ball's tipped, or you can be Chaz Lanier, who struggled terribly against Indiana last year in this kind of exhibition setup, and he made 123 3-pointers or whatever it was to set a program record. So whether it's really good or whether it's really bad, it's probably not going to hold any bearing on what it actually looks like through the season. But Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Ament, all these guys that you're getting ready, Tennessee fans are excited to see. There'll be a lot of overreactions, but you know what? It's a sold-out exhibition game. There's never really been this kind of setting in October for basketball like this. It's obviously a powerhouse blue blood program. It's going to be a really good test to see what these guys look like because after this, they got a bunch of bye games coming up before they go to Vegas in November.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on it there, but like, what is successful? What does success look like tonight? Is it, do we need to see 20 points from Gillespie? Do we need to see Nate Ament go off? I mean, or do we need to see Tennessee beat Duke? Or do we need to see, some of these freshmen get in here and, large rotations or, win the glass? What does success look like on October 26th against what we believe will be a top 5 team this year?
I mean, again, you could go two different ways about this. At Michigan State, they jumped out to a big lead in the first half, and Michigan State chipped away at it. I think they were up like 19 or 20. Come back, and they had to find a way to win that game late, and they did, 89 to 88 or something on a free throw late. They looked awful against Indiana. I think last year they lost 66 to 62 or something, and you're wondering what that team's going to be. And then both teams obviously go to the Elite Eight and have very similar years. So I think success is Jacoby Gillespie continuing to play. He's been out of his mind the last couple of weeks. I think he had 35 against Ohio State in that close scrimmage. He shot it really well when we saw them practice at the arena a couple of weeks ago. So Nate Ament, obviously, everybody's going to see him. He's going to score it in a lot of different ways. He's going to get fouled a lot. He's not just a three-point shooter. He's a he can attack the rim. He can play the mid-range. He's got baseline fade. A lot of different stuff. What's his front court look like? What's JP Estrella look like? I was talking to somebody a few minutes ago before the game. They're like, we don't really know what these guys really are because all we've seen is going against each other. So now you get this opportunity to go up against the number 6 team in the country.
Grant, just for fans who are getting ready to watch this thing, are there any crazy rules? I know the one in Michigan State, like fouls didn't count, like nobody could foul out. Is this one of those type deals that you're going to shoot free throws, but everybody gets unlimited fouls and you just kind of let it roll? Or is this going to be more of a true game? Do you have any idea?
We haven't really heard anything or been told anything. I wouldn't be surprised if they let the guys keep going based on 5 fouls. That thing at Michigan State a couple of years ago was supposed to be more like a scrimmage kind of setup where the coaches could do whatever they want and try to figure out different scenarios or whatever. But once the ball got tipped, Tom Izzo and Rick Barnes are such competitors that they just wanted to play a straight-up 40-minute game and treat it for what it was, which was a really good basketball game. So I think for the most part it's going to be a normal basketball game, 40 minutes. Dress rehearsal, all this stuff. But if somebody gets 5 fouls, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep going.
Everybody's talked about Nate Ament. Everybody's talking about Jacoby Gillespie. Jalen Carey's gotten a lot of mention here in preseason. Who's somebody that's quietly had a really good preseason that maybe could surprise fans in an exhibition like tonight?
Well, Ethan Berg has surprised me so far because he got here so late. He played for the Israeli national team into September, basically, and he got here.
But he's as old as you are, right?
He might be older than me at this point. But he's been impressive just what he's been able to take in and learn on the fly. I mean, he's had such a compressed, there was no break between the FIBA tournament that he was playing in. His Israeli national team lost. He was on a flight as soon as he could to get here. And since then, he's been in the mix for that 2 guard. That 2 guard is kind of the question that everybody's trying to figure out what the answer is. They got Amari Abram from Louisiana Tech out of the transfer portal. They got Ethan Berg. You have Troy Henderson, a freshman. You have Bishop Boswell, who's back. What's that rotation look like? Who's the point guard when Jacoby doesn't have the ball in his hands? We talked about Cade Phillips playing the 3. We'll see if that actually happens or that's just talk from the offseason. So there's a lot of pieces and a lot of parts that you're trying to figure out. But for me, it's Ethan Berg, it's Amari Abram, and what that 2 guard looks like.
Where is Felix's game? How far has that Para come, do you think, from being the lob guy last year and a rebounder and a shot blocker? What's his offensive game morphed into this offseason?
I think it's grown. I think you kind of got to see it to believe it a little bit. But the good thing with Felix is what you're getting with that stuff you're talking about on the defensive end, protecting the rim, finishing lobs. I think there is a connection there with him and Jacoby, just like there was with him and Zakai. So I think you'll be fine there. But I think we've heard some positive stuff about the development on that end and how he can be more of a 2-way player. But the post is interesting. Tennessee, I think, one of 3 teams in college basketball last season that didn't lose anybody to the portal, and that's because obviously they lost a lot of seniors as is. But you return Felix, you return Cade Phillips, you return JP Estrella, you added Jalen Carey to that mix in the front court. Dwayne Brown's a freshman who has shown that he can probably play in the back end of this rotation despite how many bigs they have. So I think Felix is a little bit more of a 2-way player at the end of the season. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, is Dwayne Brown kind of like a Jackson Moy situation where, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, right? I mean, he was going to redshirt, but like everything you keep hearing is like, man, this guy might actually help this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's just such a big kid. He doesn't look like a freshman. He doesn't look like an 18-year-old. He's in better shape showing up than I thought he was going to be. And he's been a guy that I think Rick Barnes maybe last week, a couple weeks ago, said he was one of the biggest surprises of the offseason so far, and said he'll be in the mix in that rotation. I don't know how big of a role he'll play there, but he has been a really pleasant surprise. And you talk about him, you talk about Amari Evans, you talk about Troy Henderson. These are multi-year program players that you kind of build your program around, and you kind of sprinkle in the transfer portal help where you need it to plug a gap, and obviously the bigger name recruits like the Nate Mintz and all those other guys. But it feels like that with that recruiting class, they're really happy with the guys that they have to build around in the next few seasons.
Grant, my last question before you go get your popcorn and all your other snacks that you need before you get ready for tip-off here. How did this become a thing to play games like this? This is so. I mean, coaches have to love it. Fans certainly love it. It's sold out tonight. How did these things? Who decided? Hey, let's see if we can get approval to play a game like this, and let's just play an exhibition game, and we won't do it behind closed doors. We'll celebrate it to everybody. We'll find a way to raise money, and we'll make it whatever it is. How did this come about?
Well, it started as charity, as exhibitions, as raising money for certain causes. Tennessee went to Clemson years ago, 2017 or 18, I can't remember. On a Sunday like this. And ever since then, they've grown a lot. I mean, you think about Tennessee, they've had Michigan State here. They went there. They went to Gonzaga, or they played Gonzaga in Texas on a neutral site. And Rick Barnes wants more of these. He was talking the other day, Rick likes to just mention the most random stuff in the middle of a press conference, but he's talking about, they're talking the SEC among coaches, and coaches want this thing where Tennessee plays at Alabama in football last week. Well, the basketball team would go down to Tuscaloosa and play Alabama basketball on a Friday night. Like, you would mirror your football schedule and your basketball schedule to get kind of more of these exhibitions on there. Tennessee and Michigan were really close to Tennessee going to Ann Arbor for one of these, which would have been last week. So it would have been going to Michigan and then playing Duke at home. But Rick wants more of this stuff. He wants more preseason basketball because you spend now all spring and summer playing yourself. You practice basically all through the off season, not like the old days where you have limited hours. And they want more of these where you're playing somebody else and you're figuring out what your team looks like.
You mentioned Rick Barnes just says anything he wants to there in the middle of the press conference, and that just kind of reminded me, man, I'm going to miss Tony so much in that regard because you would never know what he's going to say during the middle of his press conference.
You know what? I read the statement that he provided you guys could not have been more Tony Vitello with the number of names he mentioned, with the number of veers off the highway that he had there when he was, Theo Vaughn got a reference. I think Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce got a reference. All these different people. It's like, this is like a Tony press conference.
Didn't call them by their names, but they both got shout-outs. Last thing I have for you, Grant, and I know you got to go. Herb wants to know if you have any idea who is starting tonight.
I do not. The game notes have Bishop Boswell start. I think the game notes just go by the most veteran players that are returning. If it were me, I would go with obviously Jacoby. I would go with Amari. I would go with either Amari or Berg. I don't know what they're going to do with the 2, and then at the 3, Nate. Or I would go JP Estrella, but they might go Cade Phillips, and then 5 is Felix. So it's very much in flux, but we'll see what it looks like.
All right, Grant, get out of there, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for finding the back corner. And enjoy. We'll talk to you later.
See you, boys.
All right. See you.
Grant Ramey joining us here on the Rocky Top Rewind. Tennessee and Duke exhibition play getting going in about 62 minutes. Grant and Rob will have coverage over Volquest.com all throughout the night. Somebody was definitely behind this camera making them laugh there at the end, so we're gonna have to guess on who that was.
That could have been anybody for sure. The difference between Tony and Rick was Tony's are all over the map. And Rick's are all over the map, but Rick's feels much more like a fireside chat. Like you're just sitting down and whatever. And Tony's feels much more of like almost need I'm saying all this because I'm trying to be therapeutic to myself. So
yes,
that'll be a fascinating part of how he adapts in San Francisco with the media out there on a bigger scale and a bigger group of media people. And then obviously Josh Elander will certainly work to develop his own personality with the media, and we'll get a chance to see that on Wednesday or on Monday morning at 11:30 when that press conference, and he's formally introduced by Danny White.
Yes, Josh Elander is gonna, at least starting things out, he's just gonna be right down the middle probably, but who knows how, he won't be like Tony, but it'll be cool to see that evolve. As he evolves as a head coach, everybody evolves in their day-to-day life. We evolve here on the Rocky Top Rewind, presented by the great people over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. So appreciate them. If you have a need, give them a call today for a free consultation, 423-245-4185, or check them out online at Spivey King and Spivey LLP.com. Appreciate you guys for joining us here. I know we're a couple hours earlier. We'll be back to the normal time of 9 Eastern next Sunday night, right here on the Volquest YouTube channel. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you later on the General's Quarters as Tennessee takes on Duke in exhibition play.